Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you my February TBR. I am really sorry for all of this. I have been really unwell for over a week. I have no other... this video needs to go up, so it's getting filmed. If this is really choppy, it is just me cutting out all of the sniffly noises. I promise that the choppiness is better than the alternative. But let's get into the TBR. I participate in February always in 3 readathons. The first one being Polarthon, which is hosted by Jade over at JD Ray Reads, which is a this time round month-long readathon that is dedicated to polar fiction, polar fantasy, and it is a charitable cause for Polar Bears International. I also participate in FaRoFeb, which is Fantasy Romance February, which is a readathon that is hosted by a assortment of fantasy romance authors and reviewers. They have a website, and it's normally to do with reading like the selected authors. I just read fantasy romance, as there's no prompts or anything, it's just to read fantasy romance. And then the last one that I participate in is Blackathon, which is a month-long readathon dedicated to supporting Black authors, and it's hosted by Jessie over on Jessie on YouTube. I don't know if they are hosting it this year. They are having a really rough time, so I can't imagine they would maybe find the mental energy to also host a readathon, but I'd like to credit them anyway because they created the readathon, and it inspires me to ensure that I am dedicating a decent chunk of time to reading Black authors. But without further ado, let's actually get into which books I'm reading and for what. So first of all, the only book that I am rolling over from January, obviously because I've been really unwell, I did fall behind a little bit on my TBR, so I didn't actually get to The Clan of the Cave Bear, so I am going to have to read this one hopefully at the very start of the month. I'm hoping to pick it up tomorrow, so it will probably bleed into Polarthon a little bit. I think that will be fine. Something about the vibes kind of gives me cold frostiness anyway, so I think it will be fine. I'm not going to go into the synopsis or anything, I've already talked about it a lot, but this is, yeah, the only one that I'm rolling over. Since I've already mentioned Polarthon, I have 2 books that I have planned for Polarthon. The first one is The Winter Road by Adrian Selby. This one is the story of a mercenary soldier who wants to go home, and they have to traverse this very hostile landscape to be able to get there. And I don't know much more about it, but it's a standalone, it's an epic fantasy standalone, and I don't know many of those, so I really wanted to try this author because I believe he has a few, and that's always something that I'm excited to see more of. A lot of the fantasy standalones that we see are the more whimsical ones or the mythological ones, so I thought like an epic sounding fantasy that's a standalone sounded right up my street. And the other Polarthon book that I have is Cold from the North by D.W. Ross. This one is the first book in the Onyxborn series, I think it's called. In this series, we are following a country that is at war and a young man who has to flee across very treacherous terrain to be able to get to this princess so she can claim her birthright before the Onyxborn take over and all is lost. I don't know a huge amount more, but I'm assuming hostile terrain will include cold, since it's called Cold from the North, so I figured this would suit Polarthon really well. It's self-pub fantasy. I have books 1 and 2 on my TBR. I've had them on my TBR for ages, so it makes sense that I actually finally get to them. Moving into FaRoFeb, which will be the second week of February, because I do a readathon a week instead of trying to do all of them in one big kerfuffle. So the first week will be Polarthon, the second week will be FaRoFeb because that's when Valentine's Day falls, and the third one will be Blackathon. So for the FaRoFeb week, I am going to be reading 3 fantasy romances. The first one being The Crimson Moth by Kirsten, is it Ciccarelli or Ciccarelli? I don't know. This one is a apparently YA but reads like new adult. I don't know, story of a witch who, when she was younger, the witches were the ruling class. They got a bit greedy, they got overthrown, and basically now the witch hunters hunt for all the witches and have them executed. So she managed to escape by handing in her grandmother at her grandmother's behest. She garnered their trust, and now they don't suspect her. However, she is actually a vigilante known as the Crimson Moth who is going around freeing and helping witches, and I believe that it's a witch hunter and witch romance. I think it's fake dating to an extent, potentially enemies to lovers. So I am very excited for that one. I've heard very good things. I also have When the Moon Hatched, which is one that I know very, very little about. This is by Sarah A. Parker. This one is a dragon fantasy romance, and the dragons one day elevated up into the sky and became balls, and they are now moons. I don't know anything else about it. It's a huge book as well, like it's like 600 pages or something, which for romance is a lot, but I don't know anything else about it, so we'll see how I fare with it. And the last one that I have is Guild, which is a King Midas retelling in which we're following Oren, who is a young woman who has been gold touched by Midas, and she's one of his prized possessions, and she actually enjoys the cage that she is in because it protects her from the outside world, from which she has been severely traumatized. So one day when he is moving all of his possessions to somewhere, I don't actually know where, she either gets kidnapped or she gets left behind, and she has to like face the world again for the first time. And I don't even know who the romance is with in this one. I'm assuming it's not Midas. I feel like that's a very toxic relationship. I genuinely have no idea. We'll see how I fare with any of these, see which ones in my fantasy romance journey do appeal to me. For my spinner wheel for this month, that is the week that I'm going to be doing Blackathon. I had so many different types of books that I was so interested in reading, so many vlog ideas for what I wanted for Blackathon, and I could not make up my mind. The Underground Railroad, which I could watch and read, I could read the book and then watch the series. Authors that I've loved before. I've got debut authors that I've not read anything from obviously before. I've got so many different things. There's series that I want to read, there's standalones, there's genres like in my comfort zone. There was so many things that I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the spinner wheel because then the decision is out of my hands. So I've just put loads of different books by Black authors, and I've got in my comfort zone, out of my comfort zone, and series, and then we'll just see what comes up, and I'm really excited for it. So no matter what it falls on, I'm going to still be able to do at least a couple of the things that I had wanted to do, and then the other vlog ideas that I had I can just do at a later date, which is fantastic. So now the only things that I have left are just series continuations. So I did read, well, I am still kind of finishing reading Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson. So hopefully, maybe I can at least start Dead House Gates in the month of February. This one is actually really huge. 900 pages, 900 and something, 936 pages. So it's a very large book. So I don't know if I'll be able to read all of it because this is already a rather large TBR for the shortest month of the year. But I'm really liking the series. So obviously, if I get through all of my other reads, then this would be one of my priorities. Another series that I would like to continue / start, the Alloy of Law, which is Mistborn Era 2 Book 1, and it is where I'm at in the Cosmere. I am slowly but surely working my way through the entirety of the Cosmere, and I am now on Alloy of Law. So this one is a flintlock fantasy and is set several hundred years after the events of Mistborn Era 1. And I wasn't the hugest fan of Mistborn Era 1. For me, it is still the weakest out of everything I have read from the Cosmere, which I know is an unusual opinion. I'm not trying to be contrary. Just for me personally, it didn't work for me, and I have reread it and it still didn't engage me. I actually liked it less on reread, which is a real shame because I really wanted to get past that. But hopefully this one will actually scratch my itch. I have several of my friends who have said that the things that I disliked about Mistborn Era 1 will probably not be present in Mistborn Era 2, and I may like this one more. So here is hoping. I don't know a huge amount more about it, just that it's wax and wane and it's cowboy-ish. And then the other one that I am really dreading. This is the book I don't want to be reading this month, but I just need to get this series over and done with. I have The Wolves of the Calla, which is the 5th book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I have been working my way through these since, I want to say October, I can't remember, but I started the Dark Tower and I've not been having the best time with them. I don't enjoy them, but my husband really likes having someone to talk to about them. He doesn't even like the books, he just wants someone to talk to about them, and I get it. Like, now I'm reading them, I really do get it. I DNF'd The Wind Through the Keyhole, which will be in my January wrap-up, but I don't think it matters because The Wind Through the Keyhole, even though it's book 4.5, actually came out way after the whole series was concluded. So I don't think it matters, and I think I can continue on. So we'll stick with the main series, and hopefully I can encourage myself to finish the last 3, and then I am free of the Dark Tower and we can all be confused together. But that is it. Those are all of the books that I plan on reading. I hope that I have not put you off too badly with my voice. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them. Let me know if you're participating in any readathons in February. Let me know what you're most looking forward to reading in February as well. I'm always excited to know. But that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.